Welcome to today's episode. Today's guest is Isabel, the founder of Your Stellar Truth. She provides astrology and astrocartography sessions for people who want clarity on where to live and how different places can shape their lives. From digital nomads and expats to anyone navigating a big life transition, Isabel helps her clients better understand themselves and discover the locations that activate the experiences and opportunities they're truly seeking. Welcome, Isabel. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about your business because as myself, a business owner and a coach, the reason that I actually started my business was to help people basically take control of their lives. And for me, a lot of that had to do with being able to travel. And for a long time, it was like this nomad sort of conversation going on, especially in like the business world. I would say like pre-pandemic, it was very much like be a nomad, go everywhere, do the things. And a lot of the times this conversation comes up with clients of like, I would love to live somewhere else. So tell us a little bit more about your business and how it is that you are helping people sort of navigate this, where to live and also the astrology that goes with that.
Yeah, so my business is geared at using astrology, well, a subdiscipline of astrology called astrocartography to aid people in their decision-making process when it comes to where they want to relocate to. And it could be, relocating abroad, or it could be relocating within their country. But the theory that we believe in as astrocartographers is that when you relocate, your chart, your birth chart, when I say chart, I refer to birth chart, relocates with you. And so different parts of the world will activate kind of different areas of life and different sides of your personality. And it sounds very woo-woo. I understand like the skepticism that this might like get from people, but I've found it to be very accurate, not only for myself, but with clients. And I've worked with like hundreds of clients from all over the world. And the way I approach the readings is that I basically, I start by kind of looking into their chart and seeing what they would benefit from out of a location based on their birth chart. And then I look into the astrological energies at play in their current location. I try to highlight and like to like identify like what they are looking to attract into their lives. And then from there, I, based on places that they've mentioned to me already, and also places that I research on independently, I find different locations that could like, activate those areas of life that and those vibes that they're trying to attract, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So are you saying that by doing the relocation and obviously getting clarity from your clients of like what their goals are, would you say that there's been instances where like maybe someone is looking for love and it according to the chart, it showed that they should be in another like location to be able to find that?
Yeah, I've definitely found that a lot with certain clients. But the thing is that you don't have to necessarily like the client doesn't necessarily have to move to a place permanently for that to happen. Like they could go to a place maybe for a couple weeks or a couple months and meet someone. Like it's like it'll be indicated in the chart that like in the relocated chart, I should say, that like, okay, this is a place where this person is going to be more likely to meet somebody. I can't, as astrocartographers, we can't say, okay, they're going to meet the love of their life, because it's all we could see is, okay, they're going to probably meet someone in this location. It's very likely. And it was very accurate for me in particular, because I think I'm a very good example of this. Me in New York, where I'm from New York City, born and raised. I was really like single for life. Like dating was impossible. Like I just didn't meet people, or I met people, but I wasn't really into them, or they weren't into me. Like it just never worked out. And then I dated one guy from Morocco, one from Portugal, and now I'm with my fiance in Spain. And that whole area is on my moon descendant line in astrocartography. And like moon descendant line, for me, because my in my birth chart, my descendant angle is ruled by Cancer, the sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. That's like a huge indicator of meeting someone, like for me on that line. And I met like three people. I dated three people on that line.
Wow, that's wild.
So there's definitely a correlation. And I found with other clients, like I'd be like, oh, like, did you marry someone here? Or like, were you with someone here? And they'll be like, yes, I actually was married for whatever amount of years. And then maybe sometimes they say they got divorced, or maybe they're still with the person. But yeah.
Oh, it's crazy how much you can learn from the chart. So one thing you mentioned just like a little bit ago was that your birth chart relocates with you. Can you tell me what that means? Because my understanding of your birth chart is that you're putting basically, I think it's like the time, the date, and the location that you were born in to be able to get your chart. So then what do you mean that it relocates with you? Like if you move somewhere, like how does that work?
So like this concept, I guess for some people is a bit difficult to understand, and I could see why. So like the birth chart, like your birth chart is always gonna be your birth chart. Like it's really like it's your astral like blueprint. Like it's like the moment you were born, the snapshot of when you were born, like you know, the major themes in your life, the your personality, your approach to life, your experiences to some extent. But the relocated chart shows us more like the experiences a person is going to be likely to have in a location and how they'll feel different. So like they'll always have their birth chart, but the relocated chart gives like insight into what a location is going to probably be like and how it's going to play out if they were to live there longer term.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. So just to give people an idea of, what it's like to work with you and things like that, what would you say is one of the most common problems your clients come to you for? And maybe can you tell us like how you're helping them solve it, which obviously for each person is going to be a little bit different, but maybe there's like a case study that you can share with us, confidentiality, of course, but just so that we can get a little bit more of like a behind the scenes of what that looks like.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like the clients that I've worked with there's like three kind of, I guess, categories, like I guess you could say main issues that come up a lot. First one I would say is loneliness, like feeling very disconnected from the people around them and like wanting to find community.
Mm.
And a lot of the times there's a desire to find community and a desire to find like romance and stuff. I'd say the number two category is just feeling kind of stuck, like in a location, just like not that it's necessarily bad, but like they feel like they're not thriving.
Like
They
they're
feel
meant
like,
for more.
yeah, like they feel like they're not thriving, or like there could be more, so much more to life than what they're experiencing. They feel very stuck, they feel very trapped. And then I'd say the third um are just people who are curious about what's out there. And then I guess I would add a fourth is like people who want to leave the US given like political stuff.
Yes.
And they're just like, I just want to go anywhere but here, and I don't feel safe, or I don't, or like, I mean, the US also, aside from the politics, it has the extremely high living costs, and there's just a lot of people that want to leave the US for various reasons, including political ones. So those are like the biggest problems I'd say that come up. And I guess the way that I help them is I really focus on the areas, like the parts of the chart which I want to see activated in a relocated chart. Like if people want to find like love and romance, I would suggest like um going to a place where maybe they have more planets in their seventh house in their birth chart. If they want to attract community, maybe if they have more planets concentrated in the 11th house in the relocated chart. If they want to attract career success, maybe having like a benefic planet like Jupiter or Venus in the 10th house or like near the midheaven. I know these are like very astrology terms, but yeah, I really focus on the individual person's needs and look at the locations that are really activating those places. But I also make sure that, I ask them, what are your deal breakers in a location? Like what maybe like, maybe there's a country, I don't know, in Asia somewhere that someone that looks perfect, but the person doesn't want to go that far away from like North America.
Hmm.
So I also consider that like I take everything, all the deal breakers into consideration and I like I search, accordingly. If that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, for sure. For anyone that's listening to this and wondering, like, what are these charts and things that she's mentioning? If you just Google like birth chart, you'll be able to find either examples or websites where you can kind of input your information and see visually what it looks like. I will say that when I've done that, I have no idea what I'm looking at in terms of like what it means. So Isabel is the person to go to if you want to dive deeper into this, but at least it'll give you a visualization of what she's talking about when she's talking about like the 10th house, the 11th house, where the planets are sitting and things like that. um One thing that I want to know a little bit more about from you is what would you say is like a misconception that people often have about the type of work that you do? Because as you mentioned in the beginning, you're like, this does sound like a little woo-woo if you're not into it. But what is like a misconception that a lot of people are having, and how do you address it?
Okay, I love this question actually. So I could give you a really good story about this, that embodies like the kind of misconceptions that people have about my work. So, when I first started my business, um, I was in Italy. My family's Italian, like they're Italian immigrants. So I go to Italy usually once a year to my family's town, and I met this guy, and he was a content creator, like he's a content creator, and his friend is also a content creator, and his friend they were running some kind of an online business. I'm not gonna get into like the details, but it was some kind of an online business, and they were looking for an astrologer, and they said that they wanted to pay me like a part of a commission or whatever to like work with their clients to tell them exactly where they were going to meet their soulmate and when and how. And I think that's a misconception, is that people think that we're psychics. And I mean, there are probably some astrologers who are also psychics, but like astrology is more of like a study. Like, and I'm not knocking psychics. Like, I've gone to psychics. Like, I'm kind of into all this stuff, but it's not the same.
Hmm.
Like, they think that people come to you as an astrologer, astrocartographer, and they just expect you to have all the answers. But a lot of it has to like come from within and wanting to really understand your chart on a deeper level and like integrate the lessons from your chart into your life. Like,
Hmm.
I think we live in an era of like so much instant gratification,
Totally.
and people, they just want answers. They just want solutions. And like astrology, astrocartography can be a really good solution. It could be a really good tool, but it's not the only tool. And it's also like not the end all be all, and it's not like just going to give you all the answers to everything.
For sure.
I'm
It's
not a
not gonna.
psychic. Like, I'm not a psychic. Like,
Yeah.
we're psychics.
Yeah,
So,
it's like you can't, if it's telling you to relocate to Italy, you can't just go to Italy and stay inside your apartment. Like you gotta go like take the action too, right? I think
yeah, like
that's
if you're a hermit in country A and you still want to be a hermit in country B, well, then what will you know about your experiences there?
hmm.
Like, you know, so
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's the frustration. Like, um, and I find it more, again, I find it more with the younger clients. With the older clients who are like, 50s, 40s, like, I don't find that as much. But with the younger clients, it's like they tend to want answers, 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 just that's it.
Yeah. 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 And a
Simple,
lot of,
simple, simple answers, answers, answers. And
yeah.
I'm just like, you're not getting the most out of it if that's how you're approaching it, you
For
know?
sure. And I think the example that you shared about for your own experience, how, like those three countries where you can meet your soulmate. And it's like, well, if you want the instant gratification, you could have done everything possible for the first person that you dated from one of those countries to be the one, even though there might have been like red flags or things that didn't work out, whatever, right? Because of like the instant gratification that people are searching for. If you're telling me this is where the answer is, I'm going to stick to it, even though like obviously that wasn't for you. And now you are with your fiance.
Yeah, exactly. Like, um, and I really, I felt super connected like to Morocco in particular out of the three countries. But practically speaking, Spain was much better for me. It was easier for me to immigrate to. I know the language. Like, I just felt culturally it was a bit easier for me to adapt. So, not knocking Morocco, but it's also important to consider like the practical. That's why I kind of try to merge the two.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a very important thing that you pointed out. It's like, although it says you should go live in this country, if you're telling me you don't want to go that far, then that's never going to bring you anything that you want, right? Like you're going to be there with the wrong mindset and not the right things are going to happen for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So looking back on it, I just want to talk a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur. What were some of like the challenges that you faced? Maybe there's one challenge in particular you want to kind of like show us behind the scenes stuff. And how did you work through it?
A lot of challenges, honestly. Um, I mean, number one is navigating the tax system in Spain. It's really not entrepreneur friendly at all. Like you have to pay a monthly contribution that is unrelated to like that's separate from the taxes that you have to pay. It's like an additional tax. And then there's the EVA for the services. So it's like a lot. It's very difficult to manage. So you always kind of need an accountant, and that's also someone you have to pay. So I guess that um and just like honestly, I would say like putting myself out there in person because I've gotten most of my clients just online. And when it comes to like in-person networking here, like there's lots of networking events in Madrid, like loads. And I've gone to some of them, but it's like it's always like very businessy, very techy, or just like I don't know, not my type of circle,
Hmm.
not like a spiritual entrepreneurs group. And I found a lot of those groups online, but finding that in person has been hard and I'm still kind of, looking for that. So that's been a challenge because I would like to, you know, have a bigger client base in the city where I'm in. But I also think like less people have that kind of disposable income here than maybe they would in like where I'm from, like in New York or something, or Miami or Dubai, or these countries with a lot of money. Um, so I guess yeah, those two have been challenging. Also, oh my God, how could I forget the just like the online systems, like there's all these type of platforms and websites like that you have to that I use Squarespace, I use Calendly, I use Canva, I use Substack. It's a lot to manage and navigate, and I've just taken the step to hire like a little team to help me because I can't, like I get very overwhelmed. I have ADHD. And those are the top three things I would say that have been
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah, I think you're touching on something that probably a lot of people need and maybe don't do until later on in their business, which is like the outsourcing. And having like a trusted group of people, like an accountant and a team that can help you navigate all these things, because ultimately, like, you have your zone of genius, and to run a business, there are a lot of like behind the scenes stuff that need to happen for it to run smoothly, for it to grow properly and whatnot. But it doesn't necessarily mean that like you as the business owner need to be the one running it all.
Yeah, exactly that. And I just think this whole thing with the technology and the different platforms and how to use them, like there's all these people on Instagram who are out there, you know, trying to help entrepreneurs. And I appreciate what they're doing. And they send these guides, like, oh, get my free guide. And then I half the time I read the free guide and I'm more lost than I was in the beginning.
That's
And I know they have good intentions, like, but it's like I'm not familiar with this platform or this program. I'm gonna be lost. Like
yeah.
so that's been really tough for me. Like even setting up basic things sometimes for me is hard. I don't know, maybe it's a me thing, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I like what you're touching on though, that it's like, you know, these free guides that are supposed to be helpful don't always feel helpful. And a lot of the times when I'm working with clients, I'm like, you need to talk more about the things that you feel like everyone knows, because it's your zone of genius, not everyone else's. So like you feel like everyone already knows the basics or already knows like X, Y, and Z, and that's why you're selling A, B, and C. And it's like, no, it's like you need to talk about all of it so that everyone can be on the same page.
Yeah, it's exactly because there's this kind of assumption thing going on where people just assume it's like, oh, like set up this ad system. And it's like, and then the guide is skipping kind of very crucial parts. And I'm like, okay, but you can't just assume that everyone buying your guide knows the ins and outs of that.
Yeah.
Like if you're
Yeah.
gonna give a guide, it really has to be like a guide.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like step by step, please and thank you.
Like
Or there needs
lots
to be a
of
disclaimer.
details, like lots of details. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or a disclaimer that says like this is for people that are already familiar with like this platform or whatever, right? So then that way it's, you know, not wasting people's time. There was one thing that you mentioned that I would like for you to kind of elaborate on. And you said that pretty much all your clients are online clients, like people that have found you online. I think that's like most entrepreneurs' dreams, because it does open you up to like the world when you're talking about getting online clients. So can you tell us a little bit about like, are you doing anything in particular online that's been generating you a lot of clients, or what, like, how is that happening for you?
I would say like so I have like a CRM that I set up and that you know each for each lead like each client like I have the source where they came from. And like I'd say the online clients like I mean a lot of them are referrals from like people I know back in the US. Um and so a lot of those clients are also in the US. And then so a lot of referrals from being on podcasts, from being on different podcasts, all as well as where else? Substack, my Substack. Um, some from TikTok, not many. But I would say the most, yeah, from podcasts, Substack, and word of mouth, but all on the internet because if they're based in the US, and then the people who found me on the podcasts have been like basically from everywhere, like so many different countries and
That's
continents.
amazing. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess that's how I've gotten a lot of like clients from different parts of the world, like on the internet.
That's amazing. I will say with podcasts, I will say I agree. You can get a lot of clients from that from all over, because when you're doing a podcast with someone else, like you're borrowing their audience, right? Because they're talking about your business, or your business is being talked about to their audience. So it's like you're not going out of your way to get another like 10,000 followers. You're just borrowing so and so's audience when you're on that podcast. So you're having access to 10,000 followers without them being the ones that are following you. So it gives you like a bigger bandwidth to get more exposure, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I've also done like collaboration kind of events with other creators. Like I recently did one with an expat coach um from the Netherlands who's really really awesome. And Yeah, like just collaborations, like stuff like that. Because I'm not really an Instagram person. Like I don't it's to me it's really gotten really corny and stupid and like just I don't like it. I barely get clients on Instagram. I don't want to say I've given up on it, but I just think other things are working better for me. Like
Yeah.
I think podcasts are more interactive. Substack is more in depth. It's writing, so I love writing. I've worked as a journalist in the past, so it really like enables me to like bring my writing experience, like to put it to use.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what you're saying is so important. Like a lot of the times clients will come and they're like, I don't know what to do on Instagram. And I'm like, okay, well, where are your clients coming from? And they're like, they're coming from LinkedIn. I'm like, then why are you spending time on Instagram? Like, do not
Yeah,
make that
like
your focus.
I spend minimal time on Instagram. I haven't
Yes.
deleted it. Like I like to keep people updated, but just the
Mhm.
bare minimum
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's not what's really producing results for me.
100%.
And at first I was really bummed about that, but like it is what it is, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, you want to make sure that the time that you're putting into your business is intentional. So doing it on Instagram, if that's not where you're getting clients, like that's not an intentional use of your time. It's better for you to do it on like podcasts or Substack, and then you can integrate Instagram. But Instagram shouldn't be the main focus if that's not where your clients are coming from currently, right? Like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. I just I think it's just for now, this is how I'm getting the clients and it's
That's
what's
what's working
working
for
for
you. Yeah.
me. Maybe it'll change, but for now, yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say, since we're on this topic about like what to prioritize? I kind of want to talk a little bit about like mistakes. So is there a mistake that you see entrepreneurs or like fellow business owners make, and how would you encourage them to avoid them? Or like, do you have any tips that you would share?
Mistakes that they make,
Hmm.
entrepreneurs. Yeah, I mean, I guess like, when you go like on a podcast, for example, I think it should be intentional. Like it should be geared towards an audience that's like aligned with yours. Um, I think it's okay to experiment a little bit. Like I recently went on a podcast with a comedian, um, which was like a male comedian. But it was so fun. And I don't know what will come out of it, but I wouldn't just go on any podcast like in general, like I think you have to be intentional about that. And I think there's some people that they think like, oh, just like getting my name out there to lots of people is gonna work. But it's like, if that were the case, then like everyone on TikTok would be making so much money because TikTok's algorithm push like really that's where I have the most followers, but that's where I get the least clients. Like just because like you have a big audience, is that like a quality audience?
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think you're touching on a really good point.
Is that the audience that really is like wanting your stuff, your services?
Hmm. Yeah,
Like, or is it a bunch of like thirsty men who just like the way you look? Because that happens a lot on TikTok
that's hilarious. I know. That's
or
why I
even
said, I'm like,
Instagram. It's
would
like,
you rather
yeah,
have?
engagement, but from who?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
is this guy like gonna buy this random dude like gonna buy your package, or he just wants to look at your face?
Right. No, for sure.
I know
It's
this
like,
sounds really brash a little bit, but it's
no,
really a
no, but
thing.
you're spot on. It's like, do you want 100K followers or 100K in your bank account? Because sometimes it's not the same. Just because you have a big amount of followers doesn't mean that those are your ideal client, which is what you're getting at with the podcast. It's like you want to make sure that the exposure you're going to get is to your ideal client. And, like, it wouldn't make sense for you to go on a podcast that targets kids. Like, they're not your clientele. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's a waste of your time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say those are probably the biggest mistakes. And I guess just like, also just you have to be really careful. And I've fallen into this trap a little bit. Um, when you're an entrepreneur, I think you're very vulnerable. And I think nobody talks about this. And there's a lot of people who want to prey on you to sell you ridiculous things that are scams. I would call them scams. Like certain courses that I'm sure are good, but are they really worth that amount of money? Are they really giving you anything that's worth that amount of money?
Yeah.
Usually the answer is no.
And I think this goes back to your comment earlier about like the instant gratification. Like a lot of the times when they're promoting some, I'm not saying everyone does this, but when some courses and programs are being promoted, like they're promoting an instant result. And realistically, in the entrepreneur world, like sometimes that happens, but most of the time, it's not an instant result that you get when you start implementing something or doing something.
No, that's the thing. Like I've even noticed with my own business, um it it took me, a certain amount of time to get to like a point of a certain consistency and to figure out what worked for me and what didn't. And I felt really bad about that, but I think looking back that that's pretty normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to say to clients, it's like everything that you're doing for your business, whether you find instant success, slow success, or it's just a learning opportunity. It's like you're adding money to a piggy bank. Sometimes it's a penny, sometimes it's $20, but eventually it all adds up and the piggy bank gets full. And that's when you start seeing everything kind of flow and things be like, wow, everything's happening so easy. And when you're looking at it from the outside, people are like, oh, you're so lucky. And it's like, no, no, no. I've been like progressively putting money in this piggy bank. And now like the overflow is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it really like, you know, I'm lucky that prior to, starting my business, like I had a very, very good job, well, at least for Spain standards. And I had an amount of savings and kind of like a living situation that enabled me to like, lose a lot of money in the beginning, like to either break even or less, but not everybody has that, which like I think people have to be really honest about entrepreneurship and like the challenges that come with it, because these creators, I feel some of them are doing a disservice. Like I think they're like, buy my course and you'll make those 10K months in no time. And it's like that's like not I'm like that's a kind of a dangerous claim to make. Like I'm sure it happens for some of the people that take their courses, but like, I just feel like people should be careful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think that's a great advice, like make sure you're spending money on things that make sense. Like if it's too good to be true, do some research, like find out, Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's so important. Okay, so I want to spend some time here while we have it to talk about some of the questions that you sent that we could brainstorm on in terms of your business. So you had sent me three. You let me know which one is sort of like the priority that you want to talk to, because I don't know if we'll be able to get through all three. But you had asked for, the first one was building more structure in your business. The second one was knowing what to prioritize. And then the third was scaling your offers. Which one of those three do you want to kind of dive deeper into?
I guess one.
Okay, so building more structure in your business.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about like what you mean by that. Like what about your business right now doesn't feel like it has structure?
Oh, I am not, I told you I have ADHD. Like I'm not a structure person.
Okay.
I'm just not like my brain is very messy. And so I feel like I have things set up and working, but in my mind, my day to day with the business is not structured.
Okay. Okay. Great.
It's the day to day. Like it's not like, oh, my website's a mess and my Calendly and my bookings are no, that's fine.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I'm talking about like the day to day. Like I really struggle with that, the day to day planning my day, allotting how much do I allot to what. I guess it goes hand in hand with knowing what to prioritize, kind of, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's very helpful for me. So one thing that I will say is that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we fall victim into what I call the 9 to 5 habits, which is like we feel like every day we need to be working on our business. And it's like, do you need to? There are seasons in business where you're working probably crazy hours, but then ultimately, like you started your business because like the 9 to 5 structure isn't your jam, right? So sometimes we feel like we need to have like every day doing something and it's not necessary. So I just want to put that out there. With that said, if you feel like structure and the day-to-day is something that you struggle with, what I recommend you do, it's kind of two options. Option one is instead of figuring out what to do every day, figure out like what it is that you want to get done that week. You know, it's like what's going to move your business forward. What are those things that you want to do that week that are going to move your business forward? And what are the things that have to get done that week? So that could be like admin stuff or like sending notes to past clients, whatever that looks like. So then you have things that are going to move your business forward. And then you have the admin stuff that no matter what has to get done that week. But instead of trying to like cram it into like days, just make it like a to-do list for your week and make it obtainable. So what I mean by that is like, don't write like create a Substack post. It's like, well, what is the topic on it? You know, like what tends to happen is that in the moment when we're encountering like our to-do list, we're like, well, now I have to think about this. I'm like, it says I have to post on Instagram. It's okay, but like now I have to spend time thinking about it. Versus if you're like, do a post on Instagram that talks about, you know, my experience relocating to Spain, then it's like, okay, you get started a lot quicker and then you can actually prioritize that time a bit better. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is that if you want to be working on your business every day, I suggest choosing your top 3 things that you want to get done, whatever that is. Like there's no right or wrong answer, but just top 3.
Yeah, it's like it kind of like depends on the day, depends on
Yeah,
the week. Yeah,
exactly.
I agree because like I do like on Notion. I don't know if you use Notion. I
Yeah.
have like set up like a what did I call it? An action plan,
Mm-hmm.
like weekly action plan. Um, and like I follow it, but there's some days that I like deviate from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's fine. But yeah, I agree with like being more specific rather than general because it is true. Like I sometimes I'm specific, but sometimes I'm like not,
Yeah.
and that with the spiraling, like I spiral, like I really have like with attention deficit like
Yeah.
issue.
And it takes away